I wouldn't allow my backstabbing best friend to join our annual girls' trip after I caught her flirting with my boyfriend. The other girls gave me an ultimatum to include her, so I cancelled the whole trip. I, 28F, have been part of a tight-knit group of girlfriends since college. There are 6 of us: me, Liz, 27F, Emma, 28F, Sophia, 29F, Olivia, 28F, and Mia, 27F. We've been through thick and thin together, celebrating each other's successes and being there for the tough times. One of our favorite traditions is our annual girls' trip, which we've been doing for the past 5 years. This year was supposed to be extra special. We had been planning a 2-week trip to Greece, something we'd all been dreaming about for years. We'd spent months coordinating our schedules, saving up, and meticulously planning every detail. It was going to be the trip of a lifetime. But then, everything fell apart because of Mia. Mia and I have been best friends since freshman year of college. We instantly clicked and have been inseparable ever since. Or at least, that's what I thought. She was my ride or die, the person I trusted most in the world besides my boyfriend, Jake, 29M. Jake and I have been together for 3 years. He's an amazing guy, kind, funny, and supportive. I've always felt secure in our relationship, and I thought I could trust him and Mia around each other completely. Boy, was I wrong. It started about 2 months ago. Jake and I were hosting a barbecue at our place, and all our friends were there, including Mia. I noticed that she seemed to be spending a lot of time chatting with Jake, but I didn't think much of it at first. They've always gotten along well, and I was happy to see my best friend and boyfriend bonding. But as the evening went on, I started to feel uneasy. Mia was laughing a little too hard at Jake's jokes, touching his arm a little too often. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. But then I saw it, the way she was looking at him when she thought no one was watching. It was a look I recognized all too well because it was the same way I looked at Jake. I kept my cool for the rest of the night, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Over the next few weeks, I started paying more attention to their interactions. Mia was suddenly always available to hang out when Jake was around. She'd ask about him constantly, fishing for information about our relationship. The final straw came during a game night at Emma's place. Jake couldn't make it because of work, and Mia spent the whole evening texting someone with a goofy smile on her face. When I casually asked who she was talking to, she got flustered and said it was just a guy from work. My suspicions were at an all-time high, so I did something I'm not proud of. While Mia was in the bathroom, I glanced at her phone when it lit up with a new message. It was from Jake, and the preview showed a flirty exchange that made my blood run cold. I confronted Jake that night when I got home. At first, he tried to deny it, but when I told him I'd seen the messages, he broke down and confessed. He swore that nothing physical had happened between them, but he admitted that he and Mia had been flirting and texting behind my back for weeks. I was devastated. The 2 people I trusted most in the world had betrayed me. Jake begged for forgiveness, swearing it was just a stupid mistake and that he loved me. After a lot of tears and long conversations, I decided to give him another chance. We're in couples therapy now, working through our issues. But Mia? That friendship was over. I called her the next day and confronted her. She tried to play it off at first, claiming it was all innocent. But when I told her I knew about the texts, she started crying and apologizing. She said she never meant for it to go this far, that she'd developed feelings for Jake but knew nothing could ever happen between them. I was furious. I told her that our friendship was over and that I never wanted to speak to her again. She begged for forgiveness, but I couldn't even look at her. The trust was completely shattered. The next few weeks were a blur of anger, hurt, and betrayal. I told our other friends what had happened, and they were all shocked and supportive. They rallied around me, offering comfort and condemning Mia's actions. As our trip to Greece got closer, I assumed it was understood that Mia wouldn't be coming. I couldn't imagine spending 2 weeks in close quarters with the person who had tried to steal my boyfriend and betrayed our friendship. But then, about 3 weeks before the trip, Liz called me. She sounded nervous as she said, "Hey, we need to talk about the trip. And about Mia." My heart sank. I knew where this was going, but I let her continue. Liz explained that the other girls had been talking, and they felt uncomfortable with the idea of excluding Mia from the trip. They argued that she had already paid her share, and that it wouldn't be fair to leave her out of something we'd been planning for so long. I was stunned. "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. "After what she did to me, you want me to spend 2 weeks with her?" Liz sighed. "I know it's a lot to ask, but we think it might be good for you two to talk things out. Maybe this trip could be a chance for reconciliation." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Reconciliation? Liz, she tried to steal my boyfriend. She betrayed me in the worst possible way. There's no coming back from that. I understand you're hurt, Liz said, her voice gentle. But Mia's hurting too. She made a mistake, a big one, but she's still our friend. We don't want to choose sides. It sounds like you already have, I snapped. The conversation went downhill from there. Liz told me that the other girls felt the same way. They wanted Mia to come on the trip. They were giving me an ultimatum: either Mia comes, or they would have to reconsider the whole trip. I was furious and hurt. These were supposed to be my friends, the people who had my back. Instead, they were choosing Mia over me. I felt betrayed all over again. Fine, I said, my voice cold. If that's how you all feel, then the trip is cancelled. I'm not going anywhere with Mia, and I can't believe you're all taking her side. I hung up before Liz could respond. Then I sent a message to our group chat. I've just been informed that you all want Mia to come on the trip to Greece. Given what she's done, I'm not comfortable spending 2 weeks with her. Since you've made it clear that it's either she comes or the trip is off, I've decided to cancel the trip entirely. I'm deeply hurt that you would choose her over me after what she did. I thought you were my friends, but I guess I was wrong about that too. Have a nice summer. Then I left the group chat. The fallout was immediate. My phone blew up with messages and calls from the girls, all trying to explain their side or convince me to change my mind. I ignored them all. I was too hurt and angry to deal with any of them. Emma showed up at my apartment the next day, begging me to reconsider. She said they never meant to hurt me, that they were just trying to find a way to keep the group together. I told her that the group was already broken the moment Mia decided to go after my boyfriend. But don't you see? Emma pleaded. This is exactly why we need this trip. We need to heal as a group. We've all been friends for so long, we can't let this tear us apart. I just shook my head. It's already torn us apart, Emma. Mia made her choice, and now you've all made yours. I'm not going to pretend everything is okay just to make you all feel better. As the days passed, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Not only had I lost my best friend, but now my entire friend group was fractured. The girls were upset with me for canceling the trip, and I was upset with them for siding with Mia. Mia tried to reach out to me several times, leaving tearful voicemails and sending long, apologetic texts. I deleted them all without reading or listening. As far as I was concerned, she no longer existed. Jake was supportive throughout all of this. He felt guilty about his role in the whole mess and did his best to comfort me. But even with him, things were strained. Every time I looked at him, I couldn't help but wonder if he was thinking about Mia. As the date of what would have been our trip approached, I found myself feeling more and more alone. I had gone from having a tight-knit group of friends and a best friend I thought I could trust with my life, to feeling like I had no one. The day we were supposed to leave for Greece, I woke up feeling hollow. I scrolled through my social media, half expecting to see pictures of the girls at the airport, having decided to go on the trip without me. But there was nothing. Later that day, I received a package. Inside was a photo album, filled with pictures of our friend group over the years. On the last page was a handwritten note. We miss you. We're sorry. When you're ready to talk, we'll be here. It was signed by all the girls, except Mia. I broke down crying, all the hurt and anger and loneliness of the past few months pouring out of me. Jake found me like that, clutching the album and sobbing. He held me, letting me cry it out. When I finally calmed down, I realized something. Yes, Mia had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Yes, the other girls had hurt me by trying to include her in the trip. But by cutting them all off, I was only hurting myself more. I decided it was time to start healing. Not for Mia's sake, and not even for the sake of the friend group, but for myself. I couldn't keep carrying all this anger and hurt around. The next day, I called Liz. When she answered, her voice was cautious, as if she was afraid I might start yelling again. Hey, I said, my own voice shaky. I think we need to talk. All of us. Except Mia. Liz agreed immediately, and within an hour, all the girls except Mia were at my apartment. There were tears, hugs, and a lot of difficult conversations. They apologized for making me feel like they were choosing Mia over me, explaining that they were just trying to avoid taking sides. I apologized for reacting so drastically by canceling the trip. We talked for hours, clearing the air and reaffirming our friendship. By the end of it, we had come to an understanding. Mia wouldn't be part of our group activities for the foreseeable future, but the girls would be free to maintain their individual friendships with her if they chose to. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. As for the trip to Greece, we decided to reschedule it for later in the year. It wouldn't be the same as our original plan, but maybe it would be better. A fresh start for our newly redefined friendship. Jake and I are still working on our relationship. The trust isn't fully back yet, but we're getting there, day by day. He's cut all contact with Mia and is doing everything he can to prove his commitment to me. Mia and I haven't spoken since that day I confronted her. Sometimes I miss her, after all, she was my best friend for nearly a decade. But then I remember what she did, and I know that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. It's been a tough few months, full of hurt, betrayal, and difficult decisions. But I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've learned a lot about friendship, forgiveness, and standing up for myself. I don't know what the future holds for our friend group, or for my relationship with Jake. But I do know this, I'm stronger than I ever thought I was, and whatever comes next, I'll be ready for it. As for that girl's trip to Greece? Stay tuned. It might just happen after all, -1 backstabbing ex-best friend. It's been 6 months since that day I cancelled our trip to Greece, and a lot has changed. I thought I'd give you all an update on how things have been going. First, let's talk about Jake. After everything that happened with Mia, our relationship was on shaky ground. The couple's therapy helped, but I still found myself questioning everything. Did he really love me? Was I just convenient? Every time he was late coming home from work or got a text, I felt my stomach clench with anxiety. About 2 months after the Mia incident, I finally broke down. We were having dinner, and Jake was telling me about his day at work. Suddenly, I couldn't take it anymore. I started crying right there at the dinner table. I can't do this anymore, I sobbed. I'm trying so hard to trust you, but I can't stop thinking about you and Mia. Every time you smile at your phone, I wonder if it's her. Every time you're late, I imagine you're with her. I'm going crazy, Jake. Jake looked stricken. He came around the table and knelt beside me, taking my hands in his. I'm so sorry, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I never meant to put you through this. I love you more than anything, and I hate that I've made you doubt that. Tell me what I can do to fix this. I'll do anything. We talked for hours that night, really talked. No holding back, no sugarcoating. I told him about all my fears and insecurities, and he listened. Then he shared his side, how he'd been feeling neglected in our relationship, how Mia's attention had been flattering at first but quickly turned into something he regretted. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was necessary. We decided to take a break, not a breakup, but some time apart to really think about what we wanted. Jake moved in with his brother for a month. During that month, I did a lot of soul searching. I realized that while Jake had made a terrible mistake, I wasn't entirely blameless in the state of our relationship. I had been taking him for granted, assuming he'd always be there. I'd stopped putting in the effort to make him feel special and appreciated. When the month was up, we met at our favorite coffee shop. I was nervous, my hands shaking as I stirred my latte. But when I looked up and saw Jake, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I knew in that moment that I wasn't ready to give up on us. We decided to give our relationship another shot, but with some changes. We committed to weekly date nights, no phones allowed. We started a new hobby together, rock climbing, of all things. It was terrifying at first, but there's something about literally putting your life in your partner's hands that really builds trust. As for Mia, well, that's been more complicated. About 3 months after everything went down, I ran into her at the grocery store. I was in the produce section, debating between 2 nearly identical bunches of kale, when I heard a familiar voice say, "The one on the left looks fresher." I froze. Slowly, I turned around, and there she was. Mia looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing sweats that had definitely seen better days. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then Mia spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know how sorry I am." I wanted to yell at her. I wanted to throw the kale in her face and tell her to go to hell. But looking at her, all I felt was tired. "Why?" I asked. "Why did you do it?" Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know," she said. "I was jealous, I guess. You and Jake seemed so perfect together, and I was lonely. But that's no excuse. I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyway. I ruined everything, and I hate myself for it." I sighed. "I'm not ready to forgive you, Mia. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. But I appreciate your apology." I grabbed the bunch of kale on the left and walked away, leaving Mia standing there in the produce section. That encounter shook me more than I expected. I found myself thinking about Mia a lot in the following days. Not with anger, like before, but with a sort of sad nostalgia. I missed my best friend, the person she used to be before all of this happened. I decided to talk to my therapist about it. Yes, I started seeing a therapist. After everything that happened, it seemed like a good idea. She suggested that I write Mia a letter, not to send, necessarily, but to get all my feelings out on paper. So I did. I wrote page after page, pouring out all the hurt, the anger, the betrayal. But I also wrote about the good times, the late-night study sessions in college, the road trips where we'd sing at the top of our lungs, the time she held my hand through my first breakup. Writing that letter was cathartic. It helped me realize that while I wasn't ready to have Mia back in my life, I was ready to let go of some of the anger I'd been carrying. It was weighing me down, and I was tired of letting it control me. As for the rest of the girls, things have been interesting. After our big talk that day in my apartment, we've been slowly rebuilding our friendships. It hasn't been easy. There have been awkward silences, inside jokes that not everyone gets anymore, and the constant elephant in the room that is Mia's absence. But we're trying. We've started having monthly dinners, just the 5 of us. At first, they were tense affairs, everyone walking on eggshells. But gradually, we've started to relax around each other again. Liz has been my rock through all of this. She's made a point of checking in on me regularly, always ready with a pint of ice cream and a terrible rom-com when I need it. She's also been the bridge between me and the others, smoothing over rough patches and reminding everyone why we became friends in the first place. Emma and Sophia have been a bit more distant. I know they still talk to Mia occasionally, which hurt at first. But I'm trying to understand. They've known her just as long as they've known me, and it's not fair to ask them to cut her out of their lives completely. Olivia, surprisingly, has become my gym buddy. She suggested we start working out together as a way to relieve stress, and it's become our thing. There's something therapeutic about lifting heavy weights while venting about our problems. And what about that trip to Greece? Well, last month, during one of our dinners, Liz brought it up. So, she said, swirling her wine glass, I was thinking. What if we rescheduled the trip to Greece? The table went quiet. I could feel everyone looking at me, waiting for my reaction. I took a deep breath. I think that could be good, I said slowly. But things would have to be different. We'd need to set some ground rules. And so, we're planning it. We're aiming for next summer, giving us plenty of time to save up again and work through any lingering issues. Mia won't be coming, of course, but her absence isn't the gaping wound it once was. We're calling it our Fresh Start trip. A chance to make new memories, to redefine our friendship on our own terms. As for Jake and me, we're taking it one day at a time. The trust is building back slowly but surely. We're talking about moving to a new apartment together, a fresh start of our own. Life isn't perfect. There are still days when I get angry thinking about what happened, days when I miss the easy friendship I used to have with Mia, days when I wonder if I'll ever be able to trust completely again. But there are also days filled with laughter with my friends, nights spent cuddling with Jake watching terrible reality TV, moments when I look at myself in the mirror and feel proud of how far I've come. I've learned a lot through all of this. About friendship, about love, about forgiveness, and most importantly, about myself. I'm stronger than I ever knew, more resilient than I gave myself credit for. So here's to fresh starts, to rebuilding what was broken, and to the adventures yet to come. Greece 2.0, we're ready for you. And who knows? Maybe someday, years from now, I'll be ready to have that coffee with Mia. Not as best friends, not like before, but as two people who shared a history and learned from their mistakes. But for now, I'm focused on the future. On the family I've chosen, the friends who stood by me even when it was hard, and the partner who's working every day to regain my trust. Life has a funny way of surprising you. Just when you think everything's falling apart, you might find yourself on the cusp of something beautiful. Here's to healing, to growth, and to the endless possibilities that come with a fresh start. Greece, we're coming for you. Just not in the way we originally planned, and maybe that's even better.